Om Shanti. Om Amrito. Let's do the 4 limitless contemplations. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semjen damje dewa tang dewe ju tang den pa ju chik, dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa ju chik, dungal mepe dewa tampa tang mindra wa ju chik, nering chak tang ni tang trawe chang nung tempo lani pa ju chik. So tonight we're going to do part 6 of the 6 sessions, and we finish off with that, and then we'll go on to another subject next time. And so I've called it tonight, Off the Karmic Wheel of Life into Primordial Consciousness, which is very important. And I want to start off with 2 stories. This story I often tell, but it's such a special story. I think it's important. There was a child made all of salt who very much wanted to know where he came from. So he set out on a long journey and traveled to many lands in pursuit of this understanding. Finally, he came to the shore of the great ocean. How marvelous, he cried, and stuck one foot into the water. The ocean beckoned him further in, saying, "If you wish to know who you are, do not be afraid." The child walked further and further into the water, dissolving with each step, and at the end exclaimed, "Ah, now I know who I am." Now, a lot of us need to go into the ocean of life and find out, hello, Pammy, who we are. It's like very, very important that we do that. And the other story, which is quite a story which is often told in Buddhist circles, is a very important one. 2 monks journeying home came to the banks of a fast-flowing river where they met a young woman unable to cross the current alone. One of the monks picked her up in his arms and set her safely on her feet on the other side. And the 2 monks continued on their travels. The monk who had crossed the river alone could finally restrain himself no longer and began to rebuke his brother. "Do you not know it is against our rules to touch a young woman? You have broken the holy vows." The other monk answered, "Brother, I left that young woman on the banks of the river. Are you still carrying her?" Now you think about that, because attachment is really one of the actual features of samsara. It's a feature of the human realm, is attachment. That's what we are. That's why people love it. When I teach psychology and stuff like that, they love it. They're so happy, because then they're comfortable in it and they don't have to take their minds any further. But it's really important, because tonight we're looking at going off that wheel of life, which goes on and on, whoops, into primordial consciousness. And many of you can do it. I know you can do it. And you just have to really get yourself to do it. But I think that Dajjam Rinpoche said something very interesting about Rigpa. And Rigpa is your true nature of mind. And someone asked him, he said, the ordinary habitual mind with its projections is extremely powerful. It keeps returning and takes hold of us easily when we are inattentive or distracted. And Dajjam Rinpoche used to say, at present, our Rigpa is like a little baby stranded on the battlefield of strong arising thoughts. I like to say that we have to begin by babysitting our Rigpa in the secure environment of meditation. If meditation is simply to continue the flow of Rigpa after the introduction, how do we know when it's Rigpa and when it's not? I asked Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche this question, and he replied with his characteristic simplicity, and this is the point. If you are in an unaltered state, it is Rigpa. If you are not contriving or manipulating the mind in any way, but simply resting in an unaltered state of pure and pristine awareness, then that is Rigpa. If there's any contriving on our part or any kind of manipulating or grasping, it is not. Rigpa is a state in which there's no longer any doubt. There's not really a mind to doubt anyway. You see directly. If you are in this state, a complete natural certainty and confidence surge up with the Rigpa itself. And this is how you know. Now, it's very interesting to me because when I talk about earthly things, I've just told you, everybody sits up and they're so interested. And when I talk about spiritual things, all the little heads start nodding off and I'm so tired and things like that. And you know what? It's really, really, really very, very simple. This true nature of mind is not affected by any of those imprints on the wheel of life that I was talking about last time. It's not affected. It doesn't touch it. Therefore, wouldn't it be quite logical to think that if you go into Rigpa, if you go into the nature of mind, you're free of those karmic imprints. You may have things playing out in the drama, but you're free. And going back to last week, just for a few minutes, revising the wheel of life with its 12 interdependent links. If you didn't hear that session, go back and listen to it. The only thing, there we go, that's very nice. Thank you. Those are all the 12 links of dependent origination. And as I told you last week, that the one leads to the other, leads to the other. And the first is the karma that you incurred. Then it goes on to the karma that you are making. Then it goes back to what you've created. So that is when you're on the wheel of life. But tonight we're going to go off the wheel. But in the center of this wheel, what I forgot to tell you last week, I was telling you the whole thing and getting right to the end. You can take that off feed. But thank you, that's a very good one. I must use that again. There are 3 animals in the middle of the wheel of life, and I forgot to mention these, and they stand for the three negative emotions, out of which 84,000 emotions come out. So they are passion, aggression, and delusion or ignorance. Those are your 3 main negative emotions. Passion is the craving, attachment, and it is the attachment, and it's represented by the rooster. And I wondered why the rooster was the one that they put there, because the rooster's very attached to its partner. So that's why the rooster is the animal that is there. Then aggression is the snake. Well, that's fair enough, although I'm not even sure snakes are aggressive. We're probably the aggressive one that make them aggressive, but it's represented by the rooster, the snake, and the delusional ignorance is the pig, who like wallows himself into all the mud and to get his food and everything. So those are the 3 animals in the middle, the 3 negative emotions, out of which the 12 links all come, and you can go back with these, but we know that those 3 emotions are not real. They're just creations of our human ordinary mind. And when we understand that it is ignorance, which is ignoring the truth of who we are, plus volitional activity, what we choose to do, that leads to the birth in this life and all the things you have to go through and all the difficulties and the depressions and the parents that aren't so nice and this and that and the other. That is what we've created and it leads to the birth and circumstances of this life. So what do we do when we know those circumstances? Well, point number one, okay, we start, as we said last time, to change the future producing karma. We say, this is relative truth, and I'm not getting stuck into attaching. I always attached to this little bowl. I'm not getting attached. I'm not getting stuck there. I'm going to let go. I'm going to let be. And I'm not going to go on to the same creation. You have a chance to change that. Secondly, you can, so first of all, you can see that you are in the exact right circumstances for you. You know, so many people say to me when I'm counseling them, I was born in the wrong circumstances. If I wouldn't have had this, and I wouldn't have had that, and I wouldn't have had this, and I would have had a mother, and I would have had a father, and I wouldn't have had an alcoholic parent, I would have really done amazing things with my life. But those are the circumstances you create, and those are the right ones. Why? Because those are the ones that give you an opportunity to clear the karmic imprints that you yourself created. So instead of fighting against them, we go, okay, it's really, really important that I'm in these circumstances, and I'm really happy that I've got them because these are the right circumstances. Then you proceed to change the future karma. That's the second point. And finally, you can move right out of your limited relative life, ordinary consciousness, into your true nature, your primordial consciousness, which is what we're going to do tonight. And it's really, really important. And remembering all the time that that primordial consciousness is not affected by the circumstances of this life. Now, when I have lunch at lunchtime, I sit down and I always just turn on the news on the television. I'm much happier when I turn on a Buddha story or a YouTube of one of the masters. But anyway, I turn the news on, I flick through if I'm bored with that, and then go to another channel, just while I'm eating lunch. And I look, oh my goodness, from the Middle East to Haiti, to Ukraine, to Trump, to this one, to that one, I just look and I go, oh my goodness, this is the most degenerative age we could ever be in, and we're not even in the pits of the degenerative age, okay? So it's really important that we, number one, can get to that Buddha nature, okay? And yes, it helps a lot if you can clear the rubbish from your wheel of life. It helps a lot, because as you clear the karma by going through experiences, by realizing what you need to do with people, by understanding this difficult person in your life was brought to you so that you could clean up all those sort of things, is fine. But you want to be able to jump into that primordial consciousness, and it's really important. Really, really is. Now, Pammy, your daughter, I'm besotted with that daughter of yours. Her daughter writes to me, I can't believe her English is so good. You obviously talk to her in English. I know you do, but no, but when she spoke on the thing, she spoke so beautifully. She's doing a lecture on karma, and so she wants me to help her with that. So I said, make all your questions, and then I'll do audios. And she loved the audios, you know, she really liked it. So we started communicating, and she started asking me questions. And I thought, here's this little German girl. She's absolutely exquisite, Penny. And she gets it. She gets it. You know, she writes to me. She tells me and writes to me that when little children will understand the karmic imprints, it will be the best. And she's never looked at Buddhism before. She writes that to me. You don't even know half of what she's now communicates with me, and I love it. I love it so much. She can text me as many times as she likes. Okay. She can text Martin in German if she wants, with the greatest of pleasure, you know. It's really, really very important that we all understand that, and that we understand when we're going through dire circumstances that we have this other nature, this other whole part of us that isn't sucked into all this rubbish that we're looking on in television and everything. It's not sucked in at all. It sees the huge picture. And also that from that seeing of the huge picture, you see the pure visions, not the impure visions. Going back to what the Buddha said. The Buddha said to Shariputra, if you can't see, because Shariputra said, how come? And that was when the Buddha was there, and it really wasn't like now, I can assure you. But he said, how come you here and the world is so full of such rubbish and everything? And he said, it's not the Tathagata that's the Buddha's fault if you can't see the purity. Now, how do you get to see? Do you all understand that from these very eyes, these same physical eyes, you could train yourself to see pure vision, and then everything will look completely different. So, what is the definition of the Buddha nature? And I'm going to do this so simply, and those of you that know it, like I know Mimi knows it well, and so does Lucian, and so do a lot of you, Martin, Linda, a lot of you know this. You just go deeper, and you have to play with this. It's almost like somebody gives you a clay. Somebody gives you clay, and you mold it into the shape. You start seeing a different thing as you mold a different shape. So the more you know this, even if you're a beginner at the primordial consciousness, you can still get to understand it. If you're more advanced on it, you really need to play with it a lot more in your lives. So Tulku Tsulu gives a definition of the Buddha nature. Buddha nature should never have a definition, because a definition's for your human mind, but nevertheless, he gives it in the book, Boundless Vision. And he asks the question, two questions. What is fully perfected Buddha? You could ask that another way. What is fully perfected, awakened nature, or awakened being, whatever you want to call it? And secondly, what is the nature of this Buddha, this awakened being? So what is the fully perfected Buddha, and what is the nature of this Buddha? And then he answers it with a simple question, simple answer. He says, Buddha is defined as Trikaya, those are the three bodies, which we'll talk about in a moment, and 5 modes of primal awareness. So Buddha is defined as Trikaya, the 3 bodies, and the 5 modes of primal awareness. Okay, so your next question is, what does this exactly mean? What does it mean? Are we 2 different people? Is the one the ordinary, physical, mundane, relative drama Melanie, and the other that's composed of the Trikaya and the 5 modes of primal awareness? We might believe that to get this, we need to go in a cave in the Himalayas, and we need to search for this higher being in the Himalayas on a higher plane. We need to go separate ourselves and find it. But that would be the wrong way to look at it, because the answer to this question is, it's not somewhere else. It's not in the Himalayas. The Himalayas may give you a chance to find it, because it's more open to that kind of thing. I know when I'm on retreat, I really get to understand this primordial consciousness. much better than when I'm at home. So yes, it helps, but it's not gone. It's right here. When you're in work, when you're in the most terrible situation, when you're being beaten up or tortured or imprisoned, that is when you find it. It's right there, okay? And you can find it in, if you look at yourself, every single psychophysical component, everything that you are made of our temporary lodging in this relative world, like, for example, your form, your feelings, your thoughts, your coarse elements, it's all made up of this, your blood, your 8 ordinary consciousnesses, it's all here. But is that all you are? No, because that self-same psychophysical component is really an enlightened component. We just haven't realized it. So when you recognize it, it then becomes the Trikaya and the 5 modes of awareness. I'll explain those this is the most important point of primordial consciousness. When you die, and all the psychophysical stuff dies, your body, the elements, the organs, the blood, everything dies, okay? And there's a corpse there. But in its place is this primordial consciousness. It was already there. It was already those things. They just reveal themselves properly when you die. So why not reveal them while you're living? Why not get to them while you're in this body? Why not realize that this ordinary body, this ordinary speech, and this ordinary mind, which we usually point here, but actually it's here, is not really an ordinary body, speech, and mind. It's just that we are so conditioned with that we believe it to be so. Therefore, we cannot recognize it. And so it goes unnoticed. And we're totally involved in all the rubbish of our lives. And that Trikaya is in every sentient being, even in the dog, in the insect, in everything. It's right there. I mean, I was looking in my shrine room this morning, this bumblebee decided to come in. And then I know the bumblebee is looking for a place. My husband says it doesn't lay eggs. Okay, so I thought it was looking for a place. So now I know it's in the top of my shrine room. Okay. But then he says to me, challenges me, and he says, well, maybe it needs to be there to have its eggs or whatever the case is so that it gets enlightened. Maybe it's got to be there, you know. Well, I hope that a whole lot of bees don't come out tomorrow morning. So, hey, I don't know, but he's there. He's in there, inside there. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'm just saying to you, every being in samsara is enlightened, potentially enlightened. We just get less and less and less enlightened as we get to lesser forms. We're not recognizing because we don't have the ability to recognize. So let's look very briefly. First, let me ask if anybody wants to ask anything, but let's look very briefly and very simply at this Trikaya and the 5 modes of primal awareness. You've got to be able to just grab at them so that you can see them, so that you can know them, so that when you're looking at something that is there, when you're looking on the television and you see something awful, you think, but what if the wisdom was manifesting? Would it be like this? No, it would be different when the wisdom was manifesting. So we learn how to manifest that wisdom. It's really, really, really important that we learn how to manifest that wisdom. So anyway, this is what Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche says. He says the 3 kayas, the word kaya means body. The 3 kayas or bodies are the basic dimension through which all the mundane worlds manifest and disappear, manifest and disappear, manifest and disappear. And so do all the Buddha fields. Those are the pure realms, the awakened realm. Everything in samsara and nirvana arises out of the three kayas and dissolves back into the three kayas constantly. Now, what does it mean? It's so simple, that meaning. When I got it simply explained to me, I thought, wow, just think about it. You've got this essence, okay? This essence, you could call it, like some people like to say, that's God, God Almighty. I'm here. I know that I've got a part of God in me. But in Buddhism, we don't have that duality. We have the essence. If you want to call the essence the God force, call it the God force. I have no problem with that. It's empty. It's spacious. Everything comes out of it. Just like in religion, you say God creates everything. The essence creates everything, but the essence is not there. It's there, right in you. Okay? The essence is called the Dharmakaya, out of which everything arises. Now, what is the difference between the essence, the Dharmakaya, and say the alaya, which is also a blank space, so to speak? The alaya doesn't have an awakened nature, but the essence has an awakened nature, okay, right in it. And that nature has got three main parts to it. It's got lots, but three main parts. Awareness. Awareness is knowing. That essence knows everything there is to know about everything. It has awareness, it has luminosity, and it has clarity. Those 3 points, that's its nature. So in the essence is its nature. And that nature can be expressed, and it's called the Sambhogakaya. What is the Sambhogakaya? It's the pure nature. How is the pure nature expressed? It's expressed in a rainbow body. Why in a rainbow body? Because it's not coarse. Our body is coarse. The elements have got coarse. But in the rainbow body, the Sambhogakaya, it's not coarse. It's pure. It's rainbow light. Okay? It's part of the nature. So out of the Dharmakaya comes the Sambhogakaya. But with our ordinary minds, we can't see the Sambhogakaya. We can only see it when we lift our minds so that our minds can perceive the pure illusory body. And that's what we're doing in the prayers. We are trying to condition our mind to that pure Sambhogakaya rainbow light body. And then out of the Sambhogakaya comes, because here's the Dharmakaya, or the essence, or the God force, or the emptiness, whatever you want to call it. Here's its nature, which expresses itself as a Sambhogakaya. And then out of that comes what we call the Nirmanakaya, which we can call unlimited capacity, energy, and compassion. Unlimited capacity, energy, and compassion. Now, when you look at it, so what happens is the Dharmakaya, if it stayed like that, then nothing would happen anywhere. It's got to express itself in a high form, the Sambhogakaya. And then, because of its compassion, it's got to express itself as a Nirmanakaya so that all people can benefit, because otherwise we couldn't see. Nobody would teach us about it. Nobody would tell us about it. So enlightened beings come in their Nirmanakaya, and they can express it any way they like. Like you might be walking along and you might be very spiritually aware, and now you've got to cross a river, and there's nowhere to cross this river. And suddenly you see a bridge and you say, oh, there's a bridge. I'm going to cross the river. You don't even know that that bridge is a near Manakaya. It was put there for your benefit to cross the, because sometimes these near Manakaya come as beautiful human beings. Sometimes they come as a bridge. Sometimes you're dying and somebody comes along and says, here's some medicine for you. And that's could be the near Manakaya, the medicine, that's someone. It can manifest as anything in the whole world or the whole realms that everybody needs. Now, this Trikaya is such a beautiful concept because you say to yourself, how did I get here? Whatever arose from the Dharmakaya. But how come it looks so awful when I look on the television, when I look around me, when I listen to people suffering? It's because I can't see the pure version of it. But the Trikaya is the pure version. And the impure version is the ordinary body, which gets old, sick, decrepit, wrinkles, sick, and all of that kind of thing, and then dies. And the speech is ordinary speech that comes out, that criticizes, that condemns, that doesn't do so many nice things with it and everything. And mind is the mind that's constantly thinking, when am I going to get my next meal? Where am I going for dinner this weekend? When am I going to get my new dress? Oh, I feel so angry because that person insulted me. That mind just goes on and on. That's ordinary body, speech, and mind. But ordinary body, speech, and mind, when it dies, when all those deluded visions go, we train to decondition our usual conditioned perception. We need to clear our veils. We need to clear our obscurations. We need to clear our obstacles. And we need to accumulate merit and wisdom. I'm going to do a whole talk on that because I really think it's very important. How do you get merit? Well, every time you do beautiful things, you get merit. But some of that merit is only going to be on that wheel of life. We want to get merit so that we can see the primordial consciousness. How do we get to see it? By our devotion, by our practice, by our study, by our contemplating things, by meditation, by service, by everything. Very important. I want you to see that trika, and then I'm going to do the 5 modes of primordial awareness, just as simply. Tonight, it's a simple version. If you want my complicated version, go back on a Monday morning. I did it very, very complicated, okay? But it's really, really important that you understand that when you recognize that, you've got it. So let me open, before I go to the 5 primordial modes of consciousness. Anyone want to say anything, ask anything, comment, whatever, please. But isn't it simple, Kathy? And I can see you can see simplicity of it, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. What I thought of earlier is something that Lama Zongma was teaching, and she said that that we tend to separate Dharma and our pure mind from our physical lives. So it's like we have one foot in the physical realm and we have one foot in the spiritual realm. And the whole idea of Dharma and practice and attending teachings and whatever we do for gain merit is actually to bring it all together. So we don't have these separate feet. Because for a long time, I was living like that. And then when she said that, I was like, oh, I've actually been living like that for such a long time. Thinking that's how I was living, but actually the 2 feet have been, ever since my illness, the 2 feet have actually been standing on the same Dharma ground
Wonderful.
for a long time. And then I didn't realize that. And then I was like, oh, but actually, it's not like that with me anymore. So I found that a very useful teaching. That
Brilliant.
that we can think once we know how we're standing, and where we're standing, we can then look at the three kayas and see how things. I mean, we meet a special teacher, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, and we can see there's an emanation of the Nirvana kaya, and then we start seeing things.
Exactly.
The more we do, the more we attend, the more we listen.
Exactly.
Then we wake up more and more and more. So I don't think the wake up is instant, but I think that if you have a pure motivation, and I think if you're confident, you've got Dharma pride. As you know, I'm a lazy Buddhist. I'm sorry, and I always say it. And but I have had tremendous benefits, and I'm truly grateful. So the more you see,
Brilliant. What you're saying makes my heart soar. Okay.
good.
Because it's true. And I can say to you that my ability to understand this and to really go to the five modes is from hours and hours of
Yes.
contemplation and
Yes.
study and teaching it and
You're
doing.
not a lazy Buddhist, Mel.
No, I'm not a lazy Buddhist like you are, but
Thank
the thing
goodness.
is, sometimes it's jolly hard not to be a lazy
Of course.
Buddhist.
Yes.
I mean, so many days when I think, oh, I'm just going to put the duvet off when that alarm goes off at 5:10 in the morning, and it's still getting dark now at that time. I mean, I don't enjoy to get up, but I know I have to get up. Otherwise, you won't have talks and I won't have practice. But the thing is, it starts to benefit. And, for me, when I can teach it better and better and better, when I can find another way yet to teach it in an easier way for people to understand, I'm extremely happy about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But
Thank you
these
so
three-
much, Mel.
Yeah, but these three, when you understand them,
Yeah.
it starts to change everything. You wake up and you realize what it's all about, and that is so important. It really, really is.
But
So
life is carrying on all the time. These little irritants, these, visa issues or whatever. And then it's like, but that's relative world. It's just got to happen. It's fine. Whatever happens, happens. But it doesn't mean that I can sit back and go, whatever. I can still engage, but with a lightheartedness and go, it's fine.
completely. And you bring it into everything, and wherever
Yes.
you are, whatever you're doing, you bring it in.
Yeah.
But this beautiful story, I also have to bring out because I think it really clarifies things. A learned scholar set forth on a long and difficult sea journey. Desiring to impress the crew with the depth of his learning, he would stop and question the simple sailors as they went about their duties. Tell me, my good man, he would ask a sailor, have you studied philosophy? The sailor would answer, oh, no, I'm just a simple sailor. I only know how to sail the ship from one shore to the other. The scholar would reply, you poor man, you've wasted half your life. The following day, he would again question the sailor, have you studied geometry, my good man? The sailor would reply again, no, I'm sorry, sir. I just rig the sails and steer the ship. The scholar again would shake his head in despair and say, you poor fellow, dwelling in ignorance, you are wasting much of your life. Day after day, the questions would go on. Have you studied geometry, anthropology, zoology, psychology? The sailor could only shake his head in denial. One night, the ship foundered in a storm. The scholar anxiously watched the crashing waves and held tightly to the mast. The sailor approached the scholar and asked him, have you, my good man, by any chance studied swimology? Swimology. Okay. In puzzlement, the scholar could only shake his head. That really is too bad, said the sailor. You've wasted your whole life, for the ship is sinking now. Okay, so Lucian appreciates that story. Intellect gets you nowhere. It might give you a ticket to the theater. It might give you a ticket into life a little bit, because people respect people who've got intellect. But trust me, it actually doesn't get you anywhere. And basically, you don't need to be a scholar to understand primordial consciousness. You really don't. So when we look at the 5 modes of awareness, okay, it's very important. We can call them the 5 modes of awareness. Remember, they go with the trikaya that we've just talked about. The 5 modes of awareness, or the 5 Buddha families, or the 5, don't use the word Buddha if you don't want it to be Buddhist. The 5 enlightened families, or the 5 wisdoms. This and the kayas are the most amazing way of viewing and experiencing life completely. I don't like charts, okay? I know Fiona, Bernice, all of them, they love charts, okay? I don't like charts because I think charts you look at and you never really get. But anyway, maybe they help you a little bit in the beginning. It changes everything in your life when you start to see what the Buddha said. Sorry, my friend, because you can't see it, it doesn't mean it isn't a pure land. Okay, so it's taken me years and years to try and integrate the 5 modes of awareness into my life. Why? Because we are conditioned, for example, to see anger. We see anger as a solid, awful, tangible thing that an I suffers from. I am angry, and it's a label. Or that's an angry man, and it's another label. We don't know. But all aggression, you create all the aggression in your life. When you've got somebody, when you go into a parking spot and he comes out and says, that was my parking spot and you took it, blah, 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 and you think, God, what an angry man. Actually, the anger is just mirror-like wisdom. It's just showing you something very deep inside your own angry imprints. That's all it is. So summarizing these 5, we look creatively at these 5 and integrate them into our lives. Now, Francesca Fremantle, who was a very special author, in her book called Luminous Emptiness, I really suggest, if you have never read Luminous Emptiness, I read it years and years and years ago, but Luminous Emptiness is a very interesting book and would be very helpful to you. The 5 wisdoms, she says, or the 5 jnanas, are 5 ways of knowing reality. Now think about that. 5 ways of knowing reality. Nothing more, nothing less. 5 ways of knowing reality. Each way just reveals a little bit of a different viewpoint. Okay, but 5 ways of knowing reality. And these 5 ways complement each other. They completely and totally complement each other. And they make a complete whole. And the whole is called in Buddhism or in other things a mandala. A mandala. Mandala is a perfect whole. It's got all its facets, and all the facets complement each other. And they are the fundamental nature of the Buddhas. We're a Buddha, and shine forth. Those 5 ways of knowing reality shine forth with different colors, and we start embracing them. So back to my crystal on my shrine. It's very important. Okay, I don't know if you can see that this crystal has a Buddha in the middle of it. Okay, it has a crystal. If you put this crystal in the sun, okay, and you go like that or in the light, I put it by the light here. I don't know if you can see it there. But if you put it in the light, at every angle of the crystal, there is another color. And that is extremely important to understand, because the color reflects the way of knowing reality. And each color has a different way of knowing reality that together form a whole mandala, which is you, your primordial consciousness. It's you sitting in the middle of the Buddha. So tonight, we're not going to do all the details of it, because the details can come later. And those of you that haven't ever heard it or don't know it, you can really go back to my lectures on a Monday morning when I did the primordial consciousness, and I did it in real great depth. I did about 4 talks on it. But here I'm just giving you the basis of it. So we go to the first part, which is blue. And blue is the color, and it represents the element of space. Each one represents. So the blue is the space. You could even say the blue is in the center. It's the space element. And it's called the all-accomplishing wisdom. The all-accomplishing wisdom. Okay? And or you can call it the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, but I won't confuse you with that. Just call it the all-accomplishing wisdom. Okay? And the poison, what we see, instead of seeing the all-accomplishing wisdom, we see ignorance, which is ignoring the truth, and delusion, which is when we tell ourselves these stories deluded. It'll all be okay when we know it isn't okay. This is this when you know it isn't like that. All the deluded stories that we tell ourselves and we tell other people, those are the perversion of the all-accomplishing wisdom. And each wisdom has got one of the skandhas. You know, I did the skandhas, the form, feelings, perceptions, habits, and consciousness, all the ordinary skandhas. So the skandha that is associated with the all-accomplishing blue wisdom is called form. Your form. This is your form. That's the tangible thing. The intangible thing is the all-accomplishing wisdom, blue in color. And if we can't see it, we're seeing delusion and ignorance. That's what we see, which we're seeing all the time in our lives. So when we see ignorance and delusion, if we say, but hang on, what's the real form of this? The real form of ignorance and delusion is the all-accomplishing wisdom. Because 1 minute of understanding that delusion or that ignorance is not really real takes you to all-accomplishing wisdom. And of course, all-accomplishing wisdom can get everything that it needs and understand everything that it needs to understand in the world. Okay, so blue is the first one. Then we turn the crystal and we come to the white color, And the element is water. And the white color is the mirror-like wisdom, showing you everything that you've created back in a mirror. And the perversion is anger, aggression, grudges, hatred, all of those things, the aggression. If you could see aggression in its true form, it would be the wisdom, the mirror-like wisdom. And the skandha associated with that is consciousness. So as soon as you can see in the mirror-like wisdom, you can change your ordinary consciousness to see it as it really is. So everything in your life that is really difficult is mirror-like wisdom. And suddenly you go, oh, I get it. So when someone's really angry with me, I'm not getting involved in it. I feel it. I feel it's too terrible. But I'm asking myself straight after, what is that? that mirror is showing me something. Maybe it's to show me to be more humble. Maybe it's to show me that I was impatient with people. Whatever it is, but that mirror-like wisdom shows me. Then we turn it again. And we come to the yellow. Yellow. Whenever I see yellow, I'm thinking of the wisdom of equality. Soon as I hear the wisdom of equality, I know that it's associated with the element earth. I always think of it as down to earth, the beautiful wisdom of equality. What does the wisdom of equality mean? The wisdom of equality's perversion is pride and arrogance. What is the wisdom of equality? This yellow earth element, what does it mean? The wisdom of equality says, hey, who are you to say that you are superior to these people? I was listening to Trump on the television. He goes, these immigrants are animals. And I'm going like, how can you say that? Your arrogance, your pride. And I'm looking at it because it is the wisdom of equality. Actually, everything is equal on this planet. Therefore, nobody is superior to anyone else. You might be in a superior body that can help people who seem to be in that drama lower than you. But the minute you look down on anything or anyone, it's pride. And the wisdom of equality will show you over and over again, over time, that you cannot be arrogant because we all have awakened nature. Therefore, if somebody's going wrong and they're deluded, we need to have compassion for them, not pride and arrogance and put them down even further and talk about people like that, or talk about the people that broke into the Senate, as hostages, when real hostages are being held in the Middle East war, and he calls those people who did terrible things hostages. You can't do that. The wisdom of equality says no pride. Pride and arrogance is really the wisdom of equality. Yellow, the earth is the element, and if you want to know the family, it's called the Ratna family. Each one's got a name, but don't worry about that now. And then we turn again, and we come to the red side of the mandala. And the red side is fire, the element. Okay. Soon as I see fire, I'm thinking of the lotus family. The lotus family, which is Padmasambhava, Amitabha, and those, they use discerning or discriminating wisdom. You could call it discerning wisdom or discriminating wisdom. What does it mean? It means you can discern the difference between the relative and the ultimate. You could see this is just a temporary situation, okay? And I don't have to get so involved in it. The ultimate is the truth. And you have that discerning wisdom that knows how to behave in all kinds of situations. And the negative poison is craving, attachment, the passions. All of those are really discerning wisdom. Because instead of craving, attaching, and holding on, we can actually see and have discriminating, discerning wisdom to understand how things really are. And in that, what happens is the skanda that it's associated with is your perception. So you change your impure perception to pure perception. And then we come to the final one, which is green, which is the karma family with the air and wind. Now, this is the wisdom of perfected action. Now, when you get to the very high level of practicing the Dharma, it's called non-action. Does non-action mean nothing? No. Non-action means that you do it without your human being interfering with it. You just let it come through you in perfected action. You don't do anything. It does it through you. When someone asked the Buddha at the end of his life, but how did you manage for 80 years to teach thousands and thousands of people? How did you do it? Where did you get the energy from? And his answer was, I was not aware of an I. It was pure, perfected action working through me. When you think about that, how many times you're working everything out, what you want to do, how you want to do it. You don't like this, so you're manipulating that, and you don't want this, and you're manipulating that. The wisdom of perfected action is a surrender into non-action to allow that beautiful wisdom to go through you. And what's the perversion? The perversion is envy and jealousy, greed. How did that come to be? How did we get envy and jealousy is the perversion of the wisdom of perfected action? Because envy and jealousy, what happens in our world is we go, look at her. I mean, she's got so much money. She's so beautiful. She's amazing. Why did she get all that? And look at me in my poor house and blah, blah, blah. Or even worse, we go, look at that director in my company. Here I am, I sit day in, day out, slogging like anything. And look at him. He just goes off and does whatever he wants and has everybody doing his bidding. Envy and jealousy is when we can't get it. We look at other people and we kind of, we can't see them and say, how beautiful that you have earned the right to what you are doing. We don't. We're envious, we're jealous. And because that perfected action is just working through the person. And the skanda is your habits, your habit formation. So when you've got the wisdom of perfected action, all your habits just fall away. When you've got the discerning wisdom, your perception turns into something beautiful. When you've got the wisdom of equality, all the human feelings just dissolve. When you've got the mirror-like wisdom, your consciousness, I do this prayer where I see with the mirror-like wisdom, your consciousness changes from ordinary sense consciousnesses, mind consciousnesses, all your judgments and everything, to primordial consciousness, where you can see the world in this beautiful way. So the consciousness goes. And when you have the all-accomplishing wisdom, instead of ignorance and delusion, this form changes into its real, beautiful Vajra form. So when you look at this, everybody, you can add lots of aspects. The male and female Buddhas of that family, the enlightened activity, each color, each family has an enlightened activity, etc. But you've got to create this. We're going to do a meditation now. You've got to create this. We need to play with it till we get it. We need to, I do this prayer every single morning, and it goes like this. Let illumination dawn as wisdom. You can take that prayer down, just that one sentence. Let illumination dawn as wisdom. What it means is, illumination is what comes out of the essence, if we saw it purely. Let it dawn means not work on it, work on it, work on it, fix it, get it all right, do your exams. Let it dawn. Let it just open into wisdom. because the wisdom is yours already. You just have to know it, realize it, and recognize it. The 3 kayas and the 5 wisdom, and then you view your whole impure world in a totally different way. And then as you go along, you actually say, I belong to that Buddha family. It's not belonging to a family, it's just a tendency that you have to relate to one of those wisdoms, which for me is very clear. Don't you think it's amazing? Difficult, Esty, or interesting, or more than interesting? And Fiona, Mimi, I know, knows this. You want to ponder it? Pammy, any of you? Molly?
Mel, I have a question.
Go on, please.
These colors, are they important? Because you mentioned them, they must be important. Shall we meditate on the colors also?
Yes, I like that. And I'll tell you why. Because color is a very easy way. And because in the middle of this, you know how they describe it? I once described it to you. In the middle of, if this was in my heart, okay, in the middle is your Buddha nature. And the Buddha nature automatically has all the colors of the rainbow, you know, because that's the pure elements, and it automatically has those colors. And if you could see the colors, you would see the Sambhogakaya, which is made of colors. Now, I'm training my mind to see the colors, because the colors are really easy to remember, because, you know, we know what colors are. It's not something completely different. So, yes, it really is important that you see those colors. And, you know, if you close your eyes, I mean, first of all, if you go like this with your eyes, everybody, put your fingers not too hard on the top of your eyelids, okay? So just put your fingers quite hard and press on your eyes and tell me what you see. Press quite hard going down on your eyes and look for quite a while. And then eventually what you'll see is that the colors start coming up. You'll see all these shapes and colors and everything else. Well, mine come up straight away. Maybe you have to take a little bit of time. But if you do that, where you press your eyes, you'll go, oh, and then all the little colors start coming. You know, you see almost like when you see on you know, those fake telescopes and everything, you see all the colors going round and round. When you do that, you'll find it absolutely amazing, because you'll start seeing all the colors which are your natural wisdoms. And it's the natural luminosity of the essence which you can perceive. You are able to, out of these same eyes, as many of the masters have taught, they call these the water bubble eyes. You can see everything in samsara, but if you're really looking into the sky and there's enough light, you'll start to see the colors of the rainbow. You'll start to see all kinds of things like that. And that's when you are beginning to give birth to that primordial consciousness. So yes, Pammy, use the colors. Let's just do a little meditation. Do you want to say something, Esty?
Yes. You said the blue is space, the white is water, the yellow is earth, red is fire, and what is green?
Green is the wind or air.
Thanks.
Okay, the wind or air, which is really interesting. And the space, all of them, I mean, the space actually accompanies all of them. So like when you die, the earth starts dying into the fire, into the water, into the air, into space. Okay, and space is that's the all-accomplishing wisdom. It's very beautiful to your hearts. Trust me. It's really, really beautiful. So I want you all to sit in a beautiful meditative position, okay? And I want you to go right into your hearts. You're breathing in and breathing out. You're just letting everything be. And you're visualizing this beautiful crystal right in the middle of your heart. They call that heart where the Buddha nature is. In Tibetan, they call it Tigla Natchik. Okay, so you're seeing this beautiful crystal in your heart. And this crystal, you have the most wonderful feeling that your consciousness is changing from the 8 ordinary consciousnesses, 5 sense consciousnesses, then the mind consciousness, which starts giving a label, then the pleasure consciousness, which starts putting an interpretation on the label, then the alaya consciousness, where all the imprints are. You're changing that for pure primordial consciousness. And you feel that magnificent upliftment. You feel that change of the consciousness into seeing things as they are. The Buddha knew everything about everything. There was nothing that he didn't know, because the awareness is fully in that Buddha nature. So I want you to imagine with this beautiful crystal, with all the colors of the rainbow, and you're just turning your consciousness from the blue space, the all-accomplishing wisdom, through the water, the white, the mirror-like wisdom showing us everything, through the yellow, the earth, the wisdom of equality. How beautiful. All sentient beings have Buddha nature. Nobody is superior. People are in different roles in their particular drama of this lifetime, but no one is superior. The wisdom of equality permeates the world, and there's no more autocratic leaders. There are no more people who think themselves smart. There's no one thinking themselves superior. They're beautiful, more enlightened beings guiding the less enlightened beings. And the discerning wisdom. Imagine that you're going in this life, you're in this beautiful life, and you're faced with so many choices and so many things you have to decide on. And you begin to understand the difference between relative truth and ultimate truth, because you have this beautiful, discerning, discriminating wisdom. So even though the relative truth seems very, very, very awful at the moment, but we keep our mind on the ultimate truth of what we are seeing in front of us and the wisdom of perfected action. Imagine a whole world where people really did beautiful, beautiful action, where things spontaneously worked out with very little effort. And all the functioning of all the beings in this beautiful, pure land was just to benefit others. Imagine a world like that, where you are able to completely and totally benefit others because you have the wisdom of perfected action. Now, I want you in your mind to just ponder the Trikaya, Dharmakaya, the essence, the God force, the spontaneous emptiness, the spaciousness to accommodate everything, the pure, clear light that people who are enlightened see when they wake up after dying. And from the Dharmakaya comes this beautiful, luminous, aware clarity out of it, so pure on a pure land, the lands that we dream of when we do the practice, where everybody benefits everybody else. And there's peace, and there's quiet, and there's compassion, and people are able to see each other. And then the near Manakaya, just imagine unlimited energy, compassion, pure, unlimited capacity. And everybody can benefit from this beautiful, pure, unlimited capacity. Just imagine a world like that, where you woke up each morning and straight away you went to the wisdoms, and straight away you saw the reality of creation and the reality of compassion. Imagine waking up to a pure land like that. And that's what our consciousness is able to do. Let illumination dawn as wisdom. Dawn, not become, dawn. Such a beautiful world. I'm going to enjoy seeing all of you in that world. I'm going to enjoy seeing absolutely all of you in that world. Such a beautiful world. What have you got to say, Mart? It's simple, really, when you think about it, isn't it? I mean, you can get the charts and you can go back to my complicated teachings on it. I've really studied this and studied it and gone on and on and on and on with it, you know, because I think it's such beautiful stuff. But
well, the Sambhogakaya, is that really, so to speak, just sounds wrong, but the illumination aspect, is that what it is?
But look, if you do, for instance, your Tara practice, okay, and you love it. Now, when you're in your Tara practice and you are Tara, you are entering a Sambhogakaya land, okay? If you were able to achieve what you need to achieve with doing that practice, you would be in Tara's pure land. And all the beings in that land would be made of luminous colored light. Okay, everything would be absolutely exquisite. And when you look at the pictures of the, so to speak, deities, and they're not really deities, they're your aspect of you, you see that they all have this rainbow light around them. They always, when you look at Guru Rinpoche, he's always got rainbow light coming out of him, emanating. Chinrezi's got colored light coming out of him, emanating out of him. That is the Sambhogakaya level. But that Sambhogakaya level cannot be seen by ordinary people. Therefore, we have been given this practice. Now, the practice, you can say, yeah, I mean, Joss would argue with me and he'd say, yeah, but it's not real. But it is real. It's as real as this world. If we entered into it like that, like sometimes when I'm doing white Tara and I'm starting to do the practice of white Tara, I just sit for a while and I imagine this pure white land with beautiful beings walking around and beings that can heal and beings that can give long life. And then I imagine this wish-fulfilling wheel that beings just give out to others everything they need. And that's a Sambhogakaya land. okay? But it can't be seen by ordinary human beings because you have to just, you have to just open the consciousness, not lift it because it's not higher, but open the consciousness in order to see it. And when we get that, it's so amazing because then we realize that that's everything, but it's still pure illusory, not impure illusory like we see, but pure illusory. What does that mean? It means tulku urgent statement. Everything in samsara and nirvana is born out of the three kayas, and then everything in samsara and nirvana dissolves back into the three kayas. So you realize that even those Sambuca kaya worlds, they dissolve back into the essence and then they come out again. And when they come out, they are the three kayas and the 5 modes of wisdom, or the 5 modes of primal awareness, whatever you want to call them. That is what they are. And so you start to want to see the world like that. And then it does change a lot. Things change for you. Just ponder what I'm saying tonight, because we've done all the psyche, the wheel of life, all the karmic imprints, round and round and round the wheel. Now suddenly open up into primordial consciousness. What a gift. What a gift, you know, to even know it. And most people, when they die, can't even see it, Mark, because they never knew anything like this. So they're looking for what they know. And what do they know? They know suffering, they know anger, they know pleasure, they know attachment. They can't see this. They miss the Dharmakaya. They miss the Sambhogakaya, the second bardo. And they enter the bardo of becoming, which brings you into ordinary consciousness. Think about that. So beautiful when you put it together. Right.
Thank you.
So think about it, everybody, and let's dedicate, and then if anybody wants to ask, you welcome. Let's just dedicate to all sentient beings who are really, really suffering, and there are many, many. In all the wars, in these gangs, I saw what they're doing in Haiti, it's absolutely terrible, Haiti. And all the terrible wars and the hostages and the bombings and the sadness and the hospitals, I really dedicate. May all this go to those people. May they wake up and know that this is just a dream. Through this merit, may we achieve all seeing Buddhahood
and thereafter.
Once all harmful enemies have been defeated, may all beings be liberated from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Sonamdiye tamche zipane topne nepe dranam pamshene jegana chibala tropaye sipe sole doa do warsho. Get this off.